G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Draw with Jazza. I'm Jazza, and in today's video we're going to be creating a character turnaround from this little dude I've invented here. I don't have a name for him, but his personality is quite nervous. He's a bit of an office worker, and he's got some personality issues. And so I've just kind of invented someone that we're going to take from this concept sketch and turn it into a refined character turnaround, which is provided as a reference sheet for either other people to work from or for yourself. Now, before we get started, I want to let you know that on my other YouTube channel, By Artists for Artists, I'm currently holding a group collaboration project where we're all kind of inputting to create a final animation, and we're currently up to part 2, which is creating a character turnaround. So if you're interested in practicing the skills that you might learn from this video and having the chance to win $100 and having your character that you've invented and submitted your turnaround as part of the movie, then make sure to go over to By Artists for Artists. The link should be on the screen as an annotation or in the description, and also make sure to subscribe while you're there. So that's enough of that. We're going to get this sketch and we're going to get into the process of creating a character turnaround to provide a reference and to refine something that might initially be a concept or in an early stage of creation and bring it to more of a later stage of its process, so make it a little more refined and usable. So to start off with, I'm just going to gather these proportions. Okay, so on a new layer, I'm using Adobe Photoshop here. I'm just going to draw a line from the top of the head to the bottom of the head across like that. Quite simple. Then from the bottom of the feet, and then from the middle of the torso, the midriff where the belt would go. Now that's about it for now. I'm also going to draw a line under the eyes, and this is going to be my early reference guide. Okay, so this is on a layer of its own. So if I hide everything else, you can see that this is just standing alone, and I'm just going to delete the sides so that now I've got it's even on both sides. And if I hit Control T on this layer, I can stretch it out as I need it. Now I don't need a full length at the moment. I'm just going to use this early proportion stage, drag it out, and I'm going to create a new layer on top, and using these proportion lines, I'm going to start my construction lines, and I'm going to start on the same angle, this is called a 3/4 angle. Now this is not a good enough sketch for a character turnaround because he's got an expression and he's got a pose that aren't completely neutral. Now, while we do want a bit of style in our character turnarounds, when we want variety, that's more in something like an expression sheet where we show the extremities of the character. But a character turnaround is the foundation. So I really want to have things simple and show where you start with the character, and then you can stretch it and pull it emotionally or in his poses after that. So to start off with, I draw the large round part of the skull, filling this area, and he's got a bit of a pointy jaw. I'm going to draw the direction line for the face, the neck, and then really just roughing in the shape. So we've got the torso, making sure to capture the character's silhouette. So in this sketch that I'm working off, he has this sort of bananaed torso and then again bowed banana legs. So I'm just trying to capture that for both, and it really gets that lanky, awkward pose in position. Next, rather than having an arm raised, I'm just going to have both of them fairly neutrally by his side, and I'll have his palms in like that. And then I'll draw the middle of his legs, draw the construction lines for his feet, and that's about it. That's where the construction lines, that's about as far as the construction lines go. So for the 3/4 view, I've got my construction lines, and I'll work on the refining details like the features of the face a bit later, but I'm actually going to start laying the foundations for the other angles first. So I'm going to zoom out so you can see how much room we have to work with. I'm going to go to the layer with my proportion lines and just pull them through the whole sheet. So we have the whole image to work with, and I'm going to pull this character over way to the side. And now I have a space on either side of this character to work with. So zooming in, the minimal I would think for doing a character sheet would be 3 angles. You have a side, a 3/4 angle, and a front angle. And that way we can see, I think 3/4 angles are the most useful in terms of creating a 3-dimensional sort of feel, because we get the best of both worlds. But the front view is great to see what the character looks like in symmetry, and then the side view is great to see what the silhouette and the profile of the character looks like. So let's go into the side view. Same sort of thing. We start off with this circle for the head. And now we want to start figuring out what the shape of the face looks like side on. Now, I think he's got a pretty flat sort of front face, and his jaw goes in like that. He's going to be facing in that direction. And his nose, I think, comes down and over like that, and I think I'll tuck it up. So try and get a bit of character in there, have his head get a bit smaller up the top, and have his neck tuck out like that. And again, now we're starting to capture the proportions of the body. Okay, so get the silhouette, put in the feet, put in the arms. There we go. So we've got our side view construction lines all there ready to go, and now we're going to do our front view. Now I'm going to cheat a little bit with the front and in doing that I'm just going to draw a line vertically down. Now some of you might not know how I get these perfectly straight lines. Basically you press and then hold shift and then draw. Now whatever direction you draw in, it's either up or down, and then once you do that it's stuck. So if I start going sideways, I can't actually go down. I'm actually trying to go down, but it's not working. So that's how I get straight lines. Thought you might be interested in knowing that if you didn't know that. Another fun little trick is if you hit Control T as a shortcut, you get the transform tool, and then you can do that. That's a quick little simple time saver there, rather than using your marquee or anything like that. Anyway, so now that I've drawn a vertical line, this is going to act as my middle line, much in the way that this direction line in the face acts in this 3/4 view. So rather than draw both sides of the head like this, I'm just going to draw one side, and I'm going to just try and maintain the proportions. So have the neck come down here, the torso, the foot, and have the hand there. So I'm just going to delete that other side, copy, paste, hit Control T once again to transform, and to flip this over exactly, I'm just going to right click and go flip horizontal, then drag this up until it meets there in the middle. So as you can see, there's a few things wrong with this. I will point out too that when you paste, it pastes on a new layer. So to convert these both into the one layer, I'm going to select them both, right click and merge layers, and that just means that it's all on the one layer now. Now, like I was going to say, something's a little wrong with this silhouette. These legs branch out from the middle, and I didn't count for that, and here they branch to the inside. So I'm going to erase this middle bit, and I'm just going to fix up that. So I'm going to actually have the legs go out. There we go. So that's a little truer to the character's form, and we've got the very rough proportions set up here. You can see we've got our reference here on the left to work from, just to make sure we're keeping everything on track and the way it's meant to be. So we've got the very basics of this character, and we're going to start adding refining details. Now, like I said before, I prefer to begin working with the 3/4 angle. So I start off by sketching in the nose, putting in the shapes of the eyes, and then from there just adding detail by detail. And we don't need to be over the top detail because we're going to leave the line work till later. So we just want to really give ourselves a clear guide. Okay, now expression I'm going to keep fairly neutral. That doesn't mean the character shouldn't have personality, because by all means your character sheet should display whatever emotion they tend to possess the most of, but just not to an extremity. So over here on the left, the reference we're working on is a middle sort of extreme of an anxious, nervous look. So if he's constantly nervous or anxious, I'm just going to give him a little bit of a worried look without stretching the expression too much. So slightly bring up the bottom of the eyelids, and instead of facing the camera like that, I'm going to have him facing completely forward. And that way I can do the same with all of the angles, have them face straight forward. That just kind of removes the character from the viewer. He's got these blocky sort of ears. I dip the forehead in, goes down, up, and there we go, tucks in like that. There's his neutral head, and we're going to use that and copy it over here on this angle. So we have the eye. Every now and then you can kind of just draw a straight line and making sure you get the proportions right. Now, if you're going to be particular about anything, be particular in a character turnaround to get the proportions right, because that's what this is really about. It's about the proportions on each angle. So I want to make sure the eye meets up. I'm just going to do a really light guideline. In fact, I should do it on the guideline layer. Really light. Light one for the bottom of the nose. A light one for the mouth, and a light one for the bottom of the hair. There we go. So I've given myself some more reference lines to work with. Okay, so if I want to expand those, I can just stretch them out later, but for now I'll just leave them as they are. Going back to my character layer, drawing the eye, looking straight forward, bottom of the eyelid, and the eyebrow. And then that big blocky ear. So I was about to start drawing the ear up here, but I looked over here and saw that it actually started around this line area. So I need to start it around this line area as well. So you're using your other angles to make sure that you're getting the right proportions. So for example, noticing that there's a little gap between that line and the top of the ear before I bring it down, and the bottom of the ear almost meets up with this line. And then in doing that, we can just be really safe in knowing that our image is maintaining proper proportions, which is quite important when creating the foundation of your character. Now drawing the hair, it slightly goes above this line, comes around here, and we don't see the back of the hair, so I'm going to just show this little bit here, and over here on this image, I'm going to give him a bit of a stylistic flick at the back of the hair, just to add some interest to the character. I just thought it made the silhouette, it makes the silhouette look a little more interesting on the side with that little shape coming up like this. And in doing that, I don't need to accentuate it over here on the side, I just need to indicate it to show that there's something going on there. But again, it's not the same intensity because it's a 3/4 angle. I want to make sure I capture the same look in the chin. It's not so blocky, it's more of a rounded, pointy look. And I've got my side angle to a point where I'm quite happy with it. So you can see that I've captured the 3/4 view and the side view to have that same sort of look. And now I'm going to go through and do the rest for the head and add details to the body as well. So you can see a little sped up, so you don't get too bored, how that process works in creating that identical look on all of these angles with the construction lines. So ladies and gentlemen, as you can see from this concept sketch, I've used that and created the bare bones of a character turnaround, which could be used as a useful foundation. Now, from here, I get to refine it a bit. So I've gone through and refined the construction work a little bit, but now I get to go through and do some line work. But I'm just gonna lower the opacity of the actual character art, construction work. And now on a new layer, I'm going to, with black ink and a pretty solid inking brush, go through and do some character line work. Now in doing the line work or any sort of refined work, whether it be color work or shapes or anything like that, on your character turnaround, you really want it to be representative of everything that comes after. So if it's going to be really sketchy in the animations that you do based on the character or whatever, you want it to look sketchy in the turnaround. You want to represent the final product. And so I'm going to go for really stylistic, thick and thin sort of line work with this character. So for example, with the nose, I'd go like, and really work with character line weight variations and try and get a really stylistic look, just to show that that's the foundation that I'll be working with when I build something out of it. So I'm not actually going to use this character for anything, but he's available for you to look at, and so are these Photoshop reference files if you click in the link in the description to go to download the reference files. And I'm just going to go through and do the line work throughout the image. So it's a bit of a time-consuming process because we're really refining what we've got and creating a final piece. So bear with me and we'll get through that. So I've got this 3/4 angle face to a place where I'm happy with it. Now, instead of going through and doing the rest of his body before I get to the other ones, I'm going to go through and do the other faces as well and just make sure that the proportions match and the face looks like the exact same face but on other angles, and really make sure I've got that before I move on, because I think the face is the hard part. The face is the part that holds the personality. Now, as you can see, I've worked quite hard to make the lines really refined and capture a certain style. It's almost like a calligraphy sort of feel. I really want to work with the thicks and thins and make that pop out, and I want to accentuate that and show that through the piece, but only to the extent in which it would be done in whatever final way it might be used. So if in animation or a storybook or anything like that, you want to represent that. Anyway, I'm going to go through now and do the head and really try and focus on making it as identical as I can. So I've got this to a place where I'm almost happy with it, but I'm going to go through it and really just get picky. So really find the things that aren't exactly the way they should be. So in doing that, first of all, I'm comparing them. So I'm looking at shapes and I'm noticing how silhouettes compare and things like that. Now I noticed that this jaw isn't exactly the way I want it to be. So I'm going to get my marquee tool, select this area, deselect the chin by holding Alt and selecting that, and then free transforming and skewing it forward, because I think it was a little too far back, just to get more of that jutting chin shape that these other two ones have. Now, the front is also a little low and it makes him look chubbier than lanky and awkward. So I'm just raising that slightly. So we're just doing things like this to make sure we're capturing the technical side of the character and also the stylistic side of the character as clearly as possible. You almost have to treat character turnaround sheets in the way they were originally used for animation and things. So when people would work for animation studios, they would receive a character turnaround sheet and perhaps an expression sheet, and from that they would have to work from that and animate the character for whatever film they might have been working on or whatever. So you really want to work on your character turnaround sheet as if you're going to be handing your character, your baby, over to someone else to work on, and you really want them to get the job done right. And so it's all about communication. You really need to show everything that needs to be shown, and that is very importantly communicated through shape and silhouette, through style and through having a really refined evenness through all the angles. So I've got this to a point where I'm actually quite happy with it, and I think he's exactly where he needs to be. Everything seems to be kind of on the level, and now I'm going to go through and do the same with the body, which is much in the same sort of way. I do notice that the hair up the top is a bit low. I'm just going to drag that up. So constantly going through and refining things as we go, and you'll see how that progresses. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Now I have my finished character turnaround. I no longer need my reference dude, so I'm just going to hide him, and I'm going to bring the rest of this stuff. So the line work, the construction lines over to the middle, and this is my character turnaround sheet. I'm completely finished, and I'm very happy with the result. I'm just going to make sure my what do you call them? Positioning lines, maybe, I guess that's what we'll call them, stretched over the whole thing. And let's just label this. So we have side 3/4, and then we have front. Okay, and then let's label him. We want to put in quotation marks, and we'll call him Nervous Ned. Let's call him that. So that is it for our character turnaround video. I hope you learned a bit and enjoyed this and enjoyed the result as well with me. I'm quite happy with how it turned out. And make sure to, once again, if you're interested in participating in the group collaboration, make sure to go over to By Artists for Artists and check out how to enter. Otherwise, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching, and I will see you later.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoy my videos. You can download the reference files from this tutorial by clicking the link in the description. And remember to share any art, animation or game you make on Newgrounds.com. Until next time, see you later.